When Neymar announced he'd stop playing for Brazil's national team, it made me reflective and nostalgic. What would I prefer? To be the protagonist of 2 World Cup titles or to be the guy who scored the most goals in the history of my country's national team? What would you prefer? I reflected and realized it was deeper than I thought. Like, comparing the legacy that Neymar leaves for the national team with the legacy that older idols left for the world, for the country, for society, for each individual. How would we think about Neymar's legacy if he retired from soccer today? Man, that made me think about something that almost made my brain explode. Check this out, let's go. Just to give a little more context to this question of what would happen if Neymar retired, just to explain why this made me so reflective, it's because I started thinking like, what is the role of an idol in people's lives, you know? I think of human relationships like this. Any contact you have with someone, any interaction you have with people or places, what's the deal? You go there, you have that certain interaction, you exchange ideas, you share experiences, and then you kind of leave something in that place or with that person, and you also receive something in return. And that's a natural law of every kind of interaction. You with your family, you with your friends, at school, at work, you always arrive, leave a part of yourself and receive something from that place or from those other people, which shapes a new you for the next interactions, where you'll leave a part of yourself that's already changed. And that's how life goes on. Now, if you stop to think about the relationship between an idol and a crowd, it's kind of, in this sense, about leaving something and taking something, but it's kind of a one-sided relationship. Only your idol leaves something for you and you simply receive it. And then when it stops being a real exchange and becomes the idol giving so much more to a lot of people he doesn't even know, never even heard of in his life, we start calling this thing by a different name. We call it the legacy that this guy left. And that's when I started reflecting a lot about Neymar's statement that he won't play for the national team anymore. I started thinking about the legacy that other idols left when they retired, you know? Like when a player ends his career, but his career was such that the things he did while playing keep resonating, they keep echoing through time, even long after. This legacy makes us think like, for example, imagine Pelé, man, if you stop to think about what legacy Pelé left. Man, in my mind, what did Pelé leave behind? Like Brazil only became world champion in the 6th edition of the World Cup. Brazil didn't win the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th World Cup. We only became world champions when Pelé turned 17 and dominated the World Cup. And after that, we broke the spell. Pelé remains the only player with 3 World Cups. Brazil was the first team to win 3. Soon, I'll share details about one of those tournaments, so stay with me. Pelé, in a time when there was no Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, Pelé stopped a war. Without today's communication tools, the guy went to a friendly match in Nigeria during a civil war. There was a war going on, you know? And then the military government, at the time when Santos was going to play a friendly match, declared a local holiday, put in place some measures so citizens could move around safely, and basically in an unofficial way declared a 48-hour ceasefire, you know? And then there was the Santos match. Santos played a friendly there. Pelé got a standing ovation from the whole stadium. Santos was escorted back to the airport, got on the plane, took off, and man, the war started again. So, if we stop to think a little about the legacy that Pelé left, how do these events keep echoing? Even today, the things we hear about Pelé, like Pelé, he simply made the whole world recognize soccer as the cultural identity of our country. Around the world, you know what I mean? How could Pelé not have connected with everyone he touched? No, like the guy, he kept leaving something for people. And that's it. That's his legacy. So if we stop to think about the legacies that other idols left, it kind of educates people, you know? Because if you think about it, you observe idols. He inspires you with a certain worldview, a way of seeing life, and that inspires you. It also affects your own way of seeing life. Sometimes you adopt behavior you admire from others, thinking it's cool and wanting to become what you look up to. So the idol, he kind of has a role in educating a lot of people, you know? That legacy is like this. If you stop to think about Ronaldo, for example, man, Ronaldo, in another context, he had an injury, man. And it's very common, very normal, not rare at all for a player to stop playing because of injuries. That's not a rare thing. Ronaldo Fenomeno, he had a very rare injury and no doctor, no physical therapist, no high performance expert, no other athlete. No one disagrees that it would be totally normal for him to stop playing soccer because of that specific injury, that rare injury he had. That's the kind of thing that makes you quit and say, look, this guy was gonna be incredible, but he got injured, so no one knows his true potential. But man, Ronaldo still became a world champion, being the main player in a World Cup after an injury that would have made it totally normal for him to stop playing soccer, to walk away from the game. And sometimes I keep wondering what people see like he didn't quit and became a champion, as if there weren't different levels between one outcome and the next. Like, he didn't stop playing. He could at least come back to play, I don't know, second division, amateur soccer, I don't know, second division, local leagues. No, he might play badly, but still for a bottom table first division team here in Brazil. No, he's gonna play in the Serie A of the Brazilian Championship for one of the big teams. No, he's gonna keep playing in Europe. No, he's gonna keep being a striker, a starter for one of the best teams in the world. There's this whole gradient, and in the middle of all that, he became a world champion. And then this overcoming, this resilience, it's like, for those who can use an idol to their advantage, what do? They see something really awesome in that idol, they take that really awesome aspect they admired and try to use it in their own life. In other words, the legacy that Ronaldo left for a lot of people was this legacy of resilience, overcoming challenges, which is something every human being needs to deal with in any area they work in any aspect at any moment in their life. That's an awesome legacy. Ronaldo in our maximum soccer fantasy game would be the most sought after player among a bunch of players who never suffered such a serious and rare injury. It's crazy. The link is in the pinned comments, man. And it doesn't stop there, man. Consider Garrincha. During one of Pelé's 3 World Cup wins, he hardly played due to an early injury in the first or second game. In that World Cup that Pelé has under his belt but didn't play, Garrincha dominated that tournament with a completely different playing style, you know? I used to talk to my grandfather and he would say that Pelé was unbelievable and that his thinking was faster, he reacted quicker, he was stronger, he was just more of everything. And doing the same things other people did, but always one step ahead, before anyone else could even imagine. Now Garrincha, he was something completely different from everyone else. And he dominated in the World Cup where Pelé got hurt early on. So the legacy that Garrincha leaves behind is just as powerful. Garrincha proved and showed the whole world that Brazilian soccer produced and still produces to this day incredible geniuses, you know, out-of-the-box players with a very inventive ability to solve problems right there on the field. So, while Pelé showed the rest of the world that this is the country of soccer, Garrincha still shows that we also have a style of soccer that's uniquely ours, that only we can play. And that's the kind of soccer we're most passionate about. With 2 players who really understood that Brazilian fans expect this kind of soccer from the national team. That was the face of the 1982 national team, which even though they didn't win the title at that time, Sócrates really understood the way the fans expect the Brazilian team to play. Even though they didn't win the title, a lot of people still consider that team the most beautiful in history, the most artistic soccer, really awesome and all that. There's a strong attachment, a real nostalgia for that amazing team. And Sócrates was the guy who really understood, who had a strong connection, an emotional bond with the fans. Besides understanding and connecting with the mentality of those fans, he took that connection beyond just cheering. Sócrates also showed that whoever wears the Brazilian national team jersey can and should think critically. And pay attention to this word, I'm not talking about being positive, I'm talking about critical thinking. About questioning and understanding why something happens a certain way. Why do things happen this way in society? What powers are being exercised for society to be exactly the way it is today? What's going on? Who decides how things work? What's happening? And here I'm not bringing up the conclusions that the person comes to, no. I'm talking about simply having a critical mind about what happens in the social sphere, in our country, you know? That's what I'm talking about. And Neymar? The legacy that Neymar leaves in this election, I think it's really awesome, man. It's a view I have that, like, he kept alive, breathing in the ICU, that kind of soccer that's only ours, that only we play. It's original from here, you know? That ginga, that street smart style, and creative out-of-the-box ideas, you know? That surprises you. That when you're watching with a privileged view, the guy from inside the field still has a completely different perspective, much harder to see things. He surprises you even from the outside, with his dribbling, ginga, flair, and showmanship. That's the thing if you think about it. To remember, Neymar was the only one of his generation who kept this kind of football, which is original, our own style, from dying out. It was on life support because he was alone, but man, he really held it down. And nowadays, on the Brazilian national team, there are several players who are undisputed and others who have a real chance of playing in the next World Cup, who have Neymar as their idol, and who were inspired by his way of playing, his way of thinking, some moves, the way Neymar managed to surprise them when they watched him. I never get tired of showing this chart here in several videos on the channel. Each dot here is a player. The vertical axis, the higher up the player's dot is, it means he succeeds in a lot of the dribbles he attempts. The horizontal axis, the farther to the right this dot is, the more dribbles this player attempts. You can see that, for example, Messi and Mbappe, they're in the group of those who try the most dribbles and still have good efficiency, considering that this line here is the average of everyone who completes dribbles. The number of dribbles that Neymar attempts and completes just breaks the chart. Got it? All the guys in this video are awesome. There are so many. You could make endless videos about them. And with them being so awesome, you know what the main takeaway is? Like, one of the most important things to bring up in this video? It's like, pay attention to this sentence. No idol is perfect. No idol is perfect. It's up to you to choose which aspect of that idol, which aspect of the role they play. Which aspect are you going to embrace and carry with you through life? And which aspect are you just going to look at and observe from a distance? But leave it there. That's what an idol is for. Take what makes sense to you and just watch what doesn't. Finally, we get to the reflective part of my little brain. Like, this made me think, man, about what these famous people have, you know? These famous folks. We have this idea that these famous people are unusual, right? They're different. We have this idea that famous people are one thing and regular people are another. But actually, man, all these famous people, all of them, they're really just regular people. They wake up, they poop, they've got dirt behind their ears, their little toe is crooked, they've got family problems. And if you look really closely, they're even a little bit cross-eyed, like that. Totally normal, they're just regular people. The big difference is that they're regular people who have hundreds of thousands of people judging the things they get wrong and the things they get right. That's the only difference between you, who aren't famous, and those people. You also make mistakes and get things right all the time. But the ones judging you are just the people around you. It's your circle of people around you. And not even everyone in your circle. For those people, sometimes it's millions of people. And that's the only difference. So it doesn't make sense for you to take, for example, any of these guys mentioned here in the video and put them on some holy pedestal when they're just regular people. Because he's just a regular person, man. This process of taking what you see as most valuable in your idols and bringing it into your own life and just observing from a distance the things you don't see as valuable. This process is the process of building your story. It's the process of building what you are going to become. And in the end, what you become is what really matters. Always. In any situation. In any situation, really. Like, let's say that in the past you were crap and really sucked. You, like millions of people who have a really crappy side, you had that side really showing. You were crap a long time ago. And time went by. You went through some experiences, learned a few things, and nowadays you're an awesome person. Dude, like, it doesn't matter that you used to be crap. What matters is that now you've become an awesome person, you know? And this reflection, for me, becomes even stronger when you switch. If you happen to be really awesome in the past and then over time you ended up becoming crap, it doesn't matter that you used to be awesome. What matters is that you became crap, you know? And when you think like that, you realize, damn, what matters is what I'm becoming. So, answering the question of this video, if Neymar retires from soccer, man, if Neymar retires from soccer today, what is the most valuable thing that lives in the minds of all Brazilians? Man, if he retires today, the important thing is that your story goes on. Part of your mission will still be to wait for another idol to appear, take what's valuable and bring it into your life, and just watch from a little farther away the part where he's kind of a screw-up. Everyone has that crappy side. The crappy part in me greets the crappy part in you. But hey, we both have cool things to pass on to someone, not just to receive. Take care.